Widow Josie lived a tough life in the rugged West, a harsh yet beautiful place filled with towering mountains and vast plains. She had come to these lands with her late husband, seeking adventure and a chance to build a new life. Together, they had worked hard to carve out a small homestead, planting crops and raising livestock. Despite the challenges, Josie found joy in the simple pleasures of life, tending to her garden, watching the sun rise over the horizon, and dreaming of a future filled with happiness. However, sorrow soon swept into her life like a storm. Josie's husband fell ill and passed away just one winter, leaving her alone in the wilderness. Grief wrapped around her heart like a heavy blanket, but she knew she had to be strong for survival. Life as a widow was lonely, and every day was a struggle to keep the homestead running without her partner by her side. Neighbors were few and far between, and help was hard to come by in this unforgiving land. As the days turned into months, Josie learned to rely on herself even more. She became skilled in hunting, gathering herbs, and managing what little land she had left. She would often sit on her porch at twilight, reminiscing about the laughter she once shared with her husband. The stars twinkled above her, while she wrapped herself in the warmth of hope for better days ahead. Yet danger lurked close by. Rumors of marauding pioneers, groups of bandits roaming the plains, began to circulate among those few who lived nearby. Many townsfolk prepared defenses, forming groups to protect their homes and families. Josie listened closely to their stories but remained determined not to let fear take control of her life. She would keep working on her farm until the last minute, thinking that nothing could break her spirit. Then came that fateful day when everything changed. Josie was out in the fields when she heard shouting. The harsh cries of men broke through the peaceful sounds of nature. Her heart raced as she recognized the fear in those voices. The marauders stormed into view like a dark cloud on a sunny afternoon. In that moment, everything was chaos. What had once been a tranquil day turned into a nightmare as the bandits approached her homestead with malicious intent. Josie's instincts kicked in. She grabbed whatever tools she could find to protect herself and her land. But before she could react fully, she felt pain. A sharp sting pierced through her side, followed by darkness as she fell into shallow wagon ruts, bleeding and vulnerable. This marked an end to her previous life. Scattered dreams now lay abandoned alongside the tracks of fate's cruel hand. Yet little did she know that this tragic turn would lead to an unexpected rescue filled with bravery, love, and new beginnings. The peaceful afternoon that Josie cherished was suddenly shattered by a thunderous roar. A group of marauding pioneers, fierce and ruthless, rode into view like a dark storm cloud, their faces twisted with greed and anger. They rode on horseback, their eyes filled with hunger, not for food, but for the spoils of others' hard work. Josie's heart raced as the chaotic sounds of shouting and clanging metal reached her ears, breaking the stillness of her quiet homestead. She dropped the hoe she was using in the garden and turned toward the commotion, horror gripping her chest. The bandits charged with little regard for the lives they threatened. They were armed with guns and knives, and their laughter echoed in the air, chilling her to the bone. Josie's instincts kicked in, urging her to act quickly. She could not just stand there, her home was at risk. In an instant, chaos erupted. The marauders swept across her land as if it were their own, trampling her carefully tended crops beneath their hooves. Josie felt a surge of adrenaline as she grabbed the nearest tool, a heavy garden spade, and positioned herself defiantly between them and her home. Though fear coursed through her veins, she refused to back down. This was her land and she would fight for it. But the bandits were relentless. One of them, a particularly brutish man with a scar running down his cheek, shouted orders to his companions, gesturing wildly as they spread out to ransack her belongings. They overturned barrels, smashed fences, and ripped through her small cabin, searching for anything of value. Josie's heart sank as she watched her life's work being destroyed before her eyes. Suddenly, the leader of the group turned his attention back to Josie. "Look at this brave little lady," he sneered, advancing toward her with a menacing grin. The other bandits laughed, mocking her courage while brandishing their weapons. Josie tightened her grip on the spade, ready to defend herself no matter the cost. In that moment of desperation, everything happened at once. One bandit lunged at her, and before she could react fully, another came from behind. The sudden pain shot through her side as she felt something warm trickle down her waist. She gasped in shock. She had been shot. The world around her spun as she collapsed into the rough wagon ruts nearby. The chaos continued around her, the shouts of the marauders mingling with the sounds of destruction. Josie's vision blurred as she lay there, vulnerable and bleeding. Yet deep within her heart stirred a flicker of hope, a belief that someone might come to help her in this moment of dire need. Just when it seemed all was lost, a shadow moved across the ground. A figure appeared on horseback in the distance, galloping toward the chaos like a beacon of light in the darkness. It was then that Josie realized she might not be left for dead after all. Someone was coming to fight for her life amid the turmoil that threatened to consume everything she held dear. As the marauding pioneers stormed into her homestead, Josie felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through her body. She had worked tirelessly to build this life after her husband's death, and the thought of losing it all ignited a fierce determination within her. With the sound of chaos ringing in her ears, she gripped the garden spade tightly, stepping forward to confront the approaching bandits. "Get away from my home," she shouted, her voice steady despite the fear that churned in her stomach. The bandits paused, momentarily taken aback by her defiance. It was a rare act of courage for a woman alone in such a dangerous situation, but Josie was not about to allow these thieves to trample on everything she had fought for. One of the marauders sneered at her bravery, chuckling as he advanced. "You think you can stop us? Just a little lady with a shovel." His mocking words only fueled Josie's resolve. She stood firm, positioning herself between them and her cabin, knowing she had to protect what little she had left. With each step they took toward her, she swung the spade with all her might, aiming for their feet to trip them up and create some distance. "I won't let you take anything," she cried defiantly, even as they laughed and jeered at her attempts. But desperation turned into panic as she watched them begin to destroy her property. They overturned barrels filled with grains she had stored for winter and smashed planks from the wooden fence that had taken days to build. Each smash echoed like thunder in her heart, and Josie could feel both anger and sorrow welling up inside her. Who were these men to attack what was rightfully hers? As one bandit lunged toward her, Josie's instincts kicked in once again. She swung the spade with every ounce of strength she had left, connecting with his leg. He stumbled backward, howling in pain while his comrades rushed to help him. For a fleeting moment, Josie felt a rush of triumph. Maybe she could hold them off long enough for someone to come. But just as quickly as hope flickered, it faded when another bandit tackled her from behind. The sudden weight knocked the breath out of her lungs and sent the spade flying from her hands. Desperation clawed at her throat as she struggled against him, kicking and twisting in an effort to break free. "Leave me alone," she shouted with fierce determination. In that chaotic moment, however, pain pierced through her side like a hot knife. The realization struck that she had been shot. Dizziness threatened to overpower her senses as blood soaked through her clothes, but even as darkness encroached upon her vision, Josie refused to succumb entirely. In those harrowing seconds before collapsing onto the hard ground, Josie's heart raced with both fear and determination to survive. Though left vulnerable and bleeding amidst the desolation surrounding her homestead, Josie's bravery shone bright, a beacon fueled by love for the life she had built and an unyielding spirit that would not give in without a fight. In the midst of the chaos, Josie's fierce determination kept her standing for as long as possible. Her heart raced, fueled by adrenaline and a desperate will to protect her home. But just when she thought she might hold her own against the marauders, everything changed in an instant. As one bandit lunged toward her, she swung the garden spade, feeling a momentary sense of victory when it connected with his leg. But before she could relish her small triumph, another bandit tackled her from behind. The weight of him was overwhelming. In that split second, Josie struggled against him, fighting to regain control. But with every twist and kick she attempted, she felt herself being pushed further toward defeat. Then came a sharp pain that sliced through her side like fire. She gasped in shock as the world around her blurred and spun. The breath rushed out of her as she realized with horror that she had been shot. Cold dread washed over her as she fell to the ground, landing hard in the shallow wagon ruts nearby. The earth felt rough against her back as panic surged inside her chest. Struggling to catch her breath, Josie looked down to see blood seeping from the wound on her side, pooling beneath her and mixing with the dirt. She was vulnerable now, helpless in a way that sent waves of dread crashing over her, but even then, instinct pushed against despair. Around her, the marauders continued their rampage, shouting and laughing as they tore apart what little remained of her homestead. Every crash of wood echoed like thunder in Josie's ears, amplifying the sense of danger surrounding her. They seemed oblivious to the pain they had caused. They were driven by greed and chaos. As she lay in the wagon ruts, barely clinging to consciousness, thoughts flickered through Josie's mind like lightning flashes. Memories of laughter shared with her husband on this land flooded back, along with hope for a future that now seemed out of reach. In that vulnerable state, all she could do was stare up at the sky scattered with clouds painted shades of pink and orange by the setting sun, the same sky under which she had once dreamed of brighter days. But now there was only darkness closing in around the edges of her vision. Each wave of dizziness led to uncertainty. Would anyone come for her? Would she see another sunrise or be left alone in this desolation? The thought gripped at Josie's heart with chilling intensity. Just as hopelessness threatened to overshadow every flicker of courage within her, an unexpected sound caught her attention, a muffled thud followed by soft hoofbeats approaching through the chaos. Could it be help arriving? As she fought to hold on to consciousness amidst fear and agony orchestrated by those marauding thieves, she clung tightly to one truth. No matter how dire things seemed, a glimmer of hope remained in this moment of peril. It illuminated even the darkest corners of despair surrounding her fate on this brutal day among marauding pioneers. Rory James had always been a man of the West, brave, strong, and guided by a deep sense of compassion for those in need. On that fateful afternoon, he was riding along a nearby trail, his eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of trouble. As a cowboy who often aided settlers, he was keenly aware of the dangers that lurked in the rugged landscape. His heart sank when he spotted a plume of dust rising against the blue sky, accompanied by distant shouts that echoed like an ominous warning. He knew something was wrong. With urgency coursing through him, Rory spurred his horse forward, feeling the powerful animal respond beneath him. The sound of chaos reached his ears as he approached the source of the disturbance. When he saw the marauding pioneers attacking Josie's homestead, fury ignited within him. This was no mere robbery, it was a brutal assault on someone who had fought hard to make a life in this unforgiving land. Rory's instincts kicked into high gear. He had seen enough violence to last a lifetime and could not stand idly by while innocent lives were at stake. From a distance, he observed Josie's brave struggle against overwhelming odds. She wielded her garden spade with defiance against men armed with weapons and malice. Her fierce spirit caught his attention, and he felt an immediate connection to her plight, a bond forged from mutual resilience and courage. As he watched her fight valiantly to protect her home, Rory felt admiration swell within him. He could see the determination etched on her face and the strength radiating from her stance despite being outnumbered. But then came the moment that shattered his hope. He saw a bandit tackle her from behind before she fell to the ground, blood seeping from a wound on her side. Anguish gripped him. He could not allow this woman to suffer alone. With renewed urgency, Rory charged forward on his horse, drawing his revolver as he approached the scene of destruction. The marauders barely noticed him at first, too consumed by their greed and chaos to be aware of the new threat closing in on them. As Rory rode closer, he yelled out a battle cry that echoed through the air like thunder, a warning shot fired into their hearts. "Get away from her," he shouted, his voice booming with authority and resolve. The bandits turned at the sound of his voice, eyes widening in shock as they realized they were no longer uncontested in their attack. Rory's heart raced as adrenaline surged through him, but courage steadied his hand around the revolver's grip. He took aim at one of the marauders who had just raised a weapon toward Josie's vulnerable form sprawled on the ground. In that moment, every instinct told him to protect this woman who had fought so fiercely for her home. With precise aim and unwavering resolve, Rory pulled the trigger, and one by one, he began to turn the tide against those who sought to harm her. Each shot rang out like music to his ears as he fought not only for Josie's safety but also for justice in a world ruled by chaos. He would not rest until she was safe again. This was his promise to himself and to her, the courageous widow who deserved protection and peace amid such perilous times. Rory's heart raced, fueled by the urgency of the moment, as he charged toward the chaos unfolding at Josie's homestead. He could see her struggling on the ground, blood staining her clothes and pooling in the dirt. The sight ignited a fire within him, compelling him to act swiftly. He knew he couldn't allow the marauding pioneers to continue their assault, not when a brave woman fought to protect her home. As Rory approached, he called out, his voice booming with authority. "Get away from her!" His words rang through the air like a clarion call, startling the bandits as they turned to face this new threat. For a brief moment, confusion flickered in their eyes, but it quickly morphed into rage. They had expected little resistance. Now they faced a cowboy determined to put an end to their chaos. Rory's mind was sharp despite the rush of adrenaline. He could see 3 bandits focused on Josie and one more standing slightly apart, scanning the area for any additional threats. With his revolver drawn and steadied in his grip, Rory took aim at the closest bandit, who had just raised his weapon toward Josie again. The moment felt suspended in time as Rory pulled the trigger. The shot rang out loud and clear. The bandit fell to the ground with a muffled cry, and a wave of shock washed over the other attackers. It was all Rory needed, a chance to press forward. In that second of distraction, he urged his horse closer to Josie, skillfully dodging debris as he rode. The other bandits quickly regained their composure and began firing back at him, bullets whizzing past like angry hornets. Rory ducked low against his horse's neck while maintaining his focus on Josie. He could see her struggling to lift her head, determination still etched on her face despite her injuries. That image steeled his resolve even further. She had fought bravely for her home, and now he would fight for her safety. With another quick motion, Rory fired again, taking down another marauder who had aimed at him with malice in his eyes. As more shots echoed around him, Rory charged forward, leaping off his horse just a few feet away from Josie's side. He knelt beside her, assessing her wounds with urgency and concern. "Stay with me, Josie," he urged gently, taking off his bandana to apply pressure to her wound. She nodded weakly, pain flickering across her features as she fought to stay conscious. Yet the battle was far from over. The 2 remaining bandits realized they were losing ground and charged toward Rory with reckless abandon. But he was ready, adrenaline coursed through him as he stood tall between them and Josie. Taking careful aim once more, he fired without hesitation, one shot after another, disabling their assault. As the last of the attackers fell to the ground or fled in fear, silence enveloped them like a heavy blanket. Rory turned back to Josie, his heart pounding from both exertion and relief. "You're safe now," he whispered, feeling a connection forged through courage and resilience in that harrowing moment. With great care, Rory lifted Josie into his arms, cradling her gently against him as he made his way back toward his horse. Her strength may have faltered under the weight of pain, but together they had faced danger head-on, and together they would begin anew in the aftermath of peril. The air was thick with tension as Rory faced the marauding pioneers, adrenaline coursing through his veins like wildfire. He could see the fear in Josie's eyes, still etched with pain but flickering with hope as she lay wounded. With every moment that passed, he felt the weight of determination settle upon his shoulders. He would not let her down. The two remaining bandits charged toward him with reckless abandon, their shouts filling the air like a battle cry. Rory squared his shoulders, ready to confront the danger head-on. He took a deep breath, steadying himself as he aimed his revolver at the nearest attacker. Time seemed to slow as he squeezed the trigger, the shot echoing like thunder against the mountains. The bandit stumbled back, clutching his side, but Rory knew this fight was far from over. As the second bandit closed in, Rory dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding a wild swing aimed at his head. The force of the attacker's momentum sent him off balance, giving Rory just enough opportunity to counterattack. He swiftly drew his fist back and landed a solid punch against the bandit's jaw. The man staggered, surprise flashing across his face before Rory followed up with another blow that sent him crashing to the ground. But even as one threat fell away, Rory felt a surge of panic when he glanced back at Josie. She was still vulnerable on the ground, blood seeping through her clothes, and it fueled his resolve to protect her at all costs. He couldn't afford to lose her. She had already shown so much courage in defending her home, and now it was his turn to stand firm. Just then, the first bandit regained his footing and lunged for Rory again. This time, they collided fiercely, grappling with each other as they wrestled on the ground. Rory fought with everything he had within him, muscles straining as he tried to overpower the brute. The world around them blurred into chaos, the sounds of shouting and clashing metal faded into a dull roar as he focused solely on defeating this man who threatened Josie's safety. With sheer determination surging through him, Rory managed to wrestle free from the bandit's grip and rolled away, scrambling back to his feet. He reached for his revolver once again, heart pounding as he took aim. "This ends now," he shouted defiantly. In that moment of clarity and focus, Rory pulled the trigger once more. The bullet found its mark and the bandit fell lifeless to the ground beside his fallen comrade. A shudder of relief washed over Rory as silence enveloped the area like a protective blanket. He turned back toward Josie, his heart racing not only from exertion but from an overwhelming sense of urgency. "You're safe now," he assured her softly as he knelt by her side once more. The danger had passed, but the fight had taken its toll on both of them. Rory gathered Josie gently into his arms, cradling her close as he prepared to carry her away from the devastation that had unfolded. They had faced overwhelming odds together, and though they emerged battered and bruised, their bond had grown stronger in the face of adversity. As he set off toward safety with her in his arms, Rory knew this was only the beginning of a new chapter forged from peril and love born amid chaos. With the danger finally quelled, Rory knelt beside Josie, his heart pounding both from exertion and concern. The chaos of the attack faded into a distant memory, replaced by the urgent need to get her to safety. He carefully assessed her injuries. Blood still seeped from her side, and her face was pale, marked by pain and fatigue. Instinctively, he knew that every moment counted. "Hold on tight, Josie," he whispered softly, trying to reassure her even as worry gnawed at him. He lifted her gently into his arms, cradling her fragile form against his chest. Despite her weight feeling heavier than it should have, Rory's determination surged within him. He would not let her down now. As he rose to his feet, the world around them felt surreal. Sunlight breaking through the trees created a dappled pattern on the ground, as if nature itself offered a passageway to safety. Each step Rory took was deliberate yet swift. He had to move quickly while keeping Josie secure in his embrace. Her head rested against his shoulder, and he could feel the heat radiating off her body, a reminder of the struggle she had just endured. Rory's muscles strained under her weight, but he pressed on, fueled by a fierce protectiveness that coursed through him like wildfire. With every step away from the scene of violence, he felt a growing sense of hope. "You're going to be all right," he reassured her again, though deep down he knew they still needed to reach safety before any real healing could begin. As they made their way through the landscape dotted with remnants of the fight, broken fences, and scattered debris, Rory remained vigilant, constantly scanning their surroundings for any signs of danger. His senses were heightened, the sound of wind rustling through the trees and distant birdsong felt like an invitation back to life after such turmoil. Josie's breathing was shallow but steady against him. He caught glimpses of her face as they walked. She looked both vulnerable and determined. Despite being injured, there was an undeniable strength in her spirit that bolstered Rory's resolve. It reminded him that this woman had fought fiercely for her home and deserved every chance at recovery. After what felt like an eternity, Rory spotted a small creek winding through a thicket ahead, a perfect place to take shelter and tend to Josie's wounds. He quickened his pace, heart racing with urgency as they approached the water's edge. As he lowered Josie gently onto a soft patch of grass near the creek bank, relief washed over him like cool water on a hot day. "Stay with me," Rory murmured as he began searching for ways to stabilize her injury. He tore strips from his shirt to create makeshift bandages and dampened them in the cool creek water before pressing them against her wound. Though his hands trembled slightly with worry and adrenaline, he focused intently on ensuring she was safe. With each passing moment spent caring for Josie, Rory felt their bond deepen, a profound connection forged in adversity and compassion. In his heart, he vowed that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would stand by her side as she healed from both physical wounds and emotional scars left by this brutal encounter. As Josie's eyes fluttered open momentarily to meet his gaze, Rory felt a rush of hope fill him anew. They had survived the storm together, and now they would find their way toward brighter days ahead as partners bound by courage and resilience in the face of perilous odds. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of deep violet and soft pink, Rory found a tranquil spot beside the river where they could rest. The gentle flow of the water created a soothing melody, harmonizing with the soft rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. He carefully laid Josie down on a bed of soft grass, her fragile body still trembling from shock and pain. Looking at her, Rory felt a swell of tenderness wash over him. Her face, though pale and marked by fatigue, held a quiet strength that took his breath away. "You're safe now, Josie," he whispered gently as he brushed her hair back from her forehead, careful to avoid her wound. The touch was delicate and reassuring, a promise that he would do everything in his power to protect her. Josie opened her eyes slightly, finding comfort in the warmth of his presence. She gazed up at him, seeing not just a rescuer but a steadfast companion who had fought for her life. "Thank you for saving me," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Rory felt his heart ache at the vulnerability in her tone. She had been through so much yet still managed to express gratitude even in her fragile state. "Just doing what anyone would do," he replied softly, though deep down he knew that his feelings ran far deeper than mere duty. They shared a moment of silence together, each lost in their own thoughts as the stars began to twinkle above them like diamonds scattered across a dark velvet cloth. The world around them faded away, it was just the two of them embraced by the serene night. Rory reached into his satchel and pulled out some supplies he had gathered, bandages, antiseptic ointment, and fresh water from the creek. With gentle hands, he tended to Josie's wounds, speaking soothingly as he worked. "This might sting a little," he said as he applied the antiseptic. She winced but held steady under his care. "I've been through worse," Josie replied with a faint smile that illuminated her eyes briefly. It was this resilience that inspired Rory. He saw not just a wounded woman but someone who had faced adversity head-on time and again. Once bandaged up, Josie relaxed against him, grateful for both his attention and company. As they sat together by the riverbank beneath the starlit sky, Rory felt a deep connection blossoming between them, a bond forged in hardship and nurtured by compassion. "Do you believe in second chances?" Rory asked quietly after some time had passed. The question hung in the air like a fragile thread woven between them. Josie turned to look him in the eye, nodding slowly. "I have to believe in them," she replied thoughtfully, "after everything I've been through." Rory's throat tightened at her words as hope flickered brightly within him. "Then let's make this our second chance together," he said firmly. In that moment, under the vast expanse of stars, they sealed an unspoken pact, one filled with bravery and love born amid peril. With renewed strength enveloping their hearts like warm sunlight breaking through clouds, both Rory and Josie knew they had faced darkness together and emerged stronger on the other side. Ready to write their own story filled with adventure and healing as partners bound by resilience under this beautifully starlit sky. As the stars twinkled overhead, casting a soft glow upon the riverbank, Rory and Josie sat close together, their hearts still racing from the turmoil they had endured. The peaceful sounds of the water flowing nearby provided a stark contrast to the chaos of earlier that day. In this serene setting, they began to speak about their feelings, something that had blossomed unexpectedly amidst the peril. "Rory," Josie began softly, her voice trembling slightly as she looked into his eyes. "I don't know how to thank you for what you did. You saved my life." The sincerity in her tone struck him deeply, and he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude flood through him. Not just for her safety, but for the connection he felt growing between them. "I didn't do it for thanks," Rory replied, his voice steady yet warm. "I couldn't stand by and watch you suffer. You fought so hard to protect your home. It inspired me. I knew I had to help you." As he spoke, Rory realized that he had not only acted out of duty but also from a profound admiration for Josie's courage and resilience. Josie nodded, her expression shifting from gratitude to vulnerability. "I felt so alone since my husband passed away. I thought I would never find strength again, she admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. But you gave me hope when I thought all was lost. Rory's heart ached at her words. He reached out, taking her hand in his, a gentle gesture that conveyed more than words ever could. You're not alone anymore, he promised, squeezing her hand. I'm here. I'll stand by you through whatever comes next. In that moment, as they held each other's gaze, something unspoken passed between them, a silent vow forged in adversity and nurtured by compassion. Maybe we can rebuild together, Rory suggested cautiously, feeling a spark of hope igniting within him. Not just homes or farms, but our lives. Josie smiled faintly, a flicker of light returning to her eyes. I'd like that, she said softly. I believe we can turn this chapter into something beautiful. Rory felt a warmth spread through his chest as he contemplated the future with Josie by his side. Then let's promise each other, he said earnestly, that we'll face whatever challenges lie ahead together. Together, Josie echoed, her voice gaining strength as she met his gaze with unwavering resolve. They both understood the weight of this promise. It was a commitment not only to face the world together but also to nurture the bond that had begun to bloom amid chaos. As they shared heartfelt vows beneath the shimmering night sky, their connection deepened, a love born of peril and nurtured through understanding and kindness. It was a moment suspended in time, where two souls united not just by circumstance, but by a shared vision of hope and resilience. In that tranquil setting beside the river, Rory and Josie forged a new future together. One where love could flourish amid the scars of the past, and where every challenge faced would only serve to strengthen their hearts and bond even further. They were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing they would do so hand in hand, partners in every sense of the word. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and gold, Rory and Josie stood hand in hand by the riverbank, a sense of calm washing over them. The night had transformed their bond from mere survival into something deeper, and understanding that they were now allies in the journey of life, ready to face a new beginning together. Josie looked around at the serene landscape, the morning light glistening on the water's surface. It seemed as if the world was waking up anew, mirroring the hope blossoming within her heart. It feels different today, she said softly, her eyes bright with possibility. Like a fresh start. Rory nodded, a smile spreading across his face as the warmth of her words settled in. It is a fresh start, Josie, he replied earnestly. We've fought through darkness, and now we can build a future that shines brighter than ever. He glanced at her, admiring not just her resilience but also her dedication to embrace what lay ahead. As they made their way back to the remnants of what once was her homestead, each step felt lighter than before. With the trauma of the past behind them, they began to discuss their plans, the dreams that would transform this land from a battleground into a sanctuary filled with laughter and love. I want to plant flowers again, Josie said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. And maybe we can have a garden that brings beauty back to this place. The thought invigorated her spirit as she pictured vibrant blossoms swaying in the breeze. Rory chuckled, imagining how delightful it would be to work alongside her in creating something beautiful from the ashes of despair. And I'll help you with whatever you need, building fences, digging plots, you name it, he promised, feeling a surge of pride at the idea of being by her side through each task. With every word exchanged between them, a sense of purpose grew stronger. They were not simply working toward a shared vision, they were crafting a life built on newfound resilience and mutual respect. Josie felt lighter with Rory beside her, a stark contrast to the loneliness she had endured after losing her husband. As they continued chatting about their dreams, laughter bubbled up easily between them, breaking down any remaining barriers constructed by fear and sorrow from their pasts. Each moment spent together used to feel heavy with uncertainty, a mark of shadows that lingered over their hearts. But now it overflowed with warmth and affection. Later that evening, beneath the vast canopy of starlit skies, they sat on a log together by the crackling campfire, sharing stories of their pasts and weaving tales of hopes for their future. Rory looked deeply into Josie's eyes as he spoke softly. I'll always protect you, no matter what comes our way, he vowed. Josie smiled warmly in return, feeling anchored by his sincerity. And I'll always stand beside you. We're stronger together, she replied, realizing how far she had come. No longer just a widow in mourning, but someone ready to embrace love again. In that sacred moment shared beneath twinkling stars and flickering flames, both Rory and Josie felt an undeniable promise of new beginnings shine brightly before them. They were ready to rewrite their story, to leave behind past traumas and step boldly into a future filled with hope, love, and the potential for happiness together as partners united under splendid skies. In the rugged terrain of the Wild West, the story of Josie and Rory stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Each trial they faced together carved deeper grooves into their hearts, yet instead of fracturing under pressure, those experiences forged an unbreakable bond. Their journey was not just about surviving a harrowing attack but also about finding strength in each other as they navigated the aftermath of trauma together. Josie's courage in standing against marauding pioneers showcased her fierce determination to protect her home and way of life. Even in the face of despair, she fought valiantly with whatever she had, a garden spade in hand, her heart full of hope. It was her unwavering spirit that initially drew Rory to her side, igniting his own sense of bravery. He understood that true courage was not the absence of fear but the willingness to act despite it. Rory's compassion further emphasized the core theme of love blooming in perilous circumstances. When he witnessed Josie's struggle, he felt an instinctual pull to protect her, a reaction that transcended words. His actions were fueled by a profound admiration for her spirit, and in saving her, he found purpose beyond just surviving. He uncovered a love that promised warmth and belonging amidst daunting odds. As they lay their scars bare beside the riverbank, their heartfelt vows echoed softly against the gentle ripples of water. They were no longer defined solely by their pasts or tragedies but by their shared commitment to forge a new path together. "We can build something beautiful from this," Rory reassured Josie during those tender moments, instilling hope where darkness once reigned. Their words served as anchors, binding them to one another as they took their first steps toward healing. In these intimate exchanges, themes of resilience and love intertwined like vines around an old wooden fence. Each story they shared became a thread woven into the fabric of their new life together. They laughed over small dreams and worries, relishing each moment that brought them closer, fostering a deeper connection that blossomed like wildflowers after rain. With unwavering determination, they envisioned a sanctuary where laughter would echo through the valleys instead of echoes of past anguish. Together they could cultivate not only crops but also joy and community, a safe haven far removed from fear. As they looked towards their future under the vast expanse of starlit skies, both knew the road ahead would not be without its challenges. Yet, they found solace in knowing they would walk it hand in hand, each step taken with purpose and love. Rory and Josie's story is an enduring reminder that even in the harshest environments, where danger lurked in shadows and survival was paramount, love can flourish against all odds. They embodied the spirit of resilience, strength found not in solitude but in unity. Through courage and compassion, they were ready to embrace whatever life would bring next, knowing that together they could overcome any storm and cherish every rainbow that followed.